There's something almost magical that happens when you finally stop holding on so tightly, not in a careless, give up on everything kind of way, but in a quiet, soul-liberating release. A moment where you unhook yourself from the invisible grip of pressure, fear, and the constant need to control. Here's the raw truth. Most of the pain in your life doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from how hard you're clinging to things. You only lose what you're afraid to let go of. Think about it. The job, relationship, the identity you're desperately trying to protect. They're exhausting you, not because they're bad, but because you've made them feel essential to your survival. But what if letting go isn't a sign of weakness? What if it's a sign of wisdom? What if that's the very moment life starts to fall into place? If you've ever done everything right but still felt stuck, anxious, or unseen, this is for you. Stick around. There's a bonus insight at the end that might just change the way you see everything. Let's begin. Lesson 1. The illusion of control and why letting go works. What if your constant effort to control every little thing is exactly why life feels so heavy? We spend so much time mentally gripping, clenching outcomes, people, plans, trying to hold it all together like sand in a fist. But the tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Control feels safe, predictable. But really, it's the ego's most convincing illusion. Let go or be dragged. That's not just a quote. That's a survival strategy. Because control doesn't bring freedom. It brings fear. Fear of failure. Fear of loss. Fear that you're not enough, unless everything goes exactly as you planned. In Buddhism, there's a concept called non-attachment. It doesn't mean not caring. It means allowing life to flow without chaining it to your expectations. You don't own this moment. You're here to experience it. And the more you try to force it, the more it slips through your fingers. Look at your own life. How much energy have you poured into overthinking, micromanaging, holding on to people already halfway out the door, or stressing over what hasn't even happened yet? And did it ever bring you peace? Or did it just add more pressure? Now imagine this. For one day you let go. You stop interfering. You stop trying to manage every detail. You breathe. You observe. And you respond not with panic, but with calm. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go right now? Most of the time it's not real danger, it's just discomfort. And discomfort, that's the gateway to growth. The job you didn't get, maybe it was never meant for you. The relationship that ended, maybe it was a chapter, not your whole story. Life is always whispering directions, but we're too busy resisting to hear. When you let go, things don't fall apart, they fall into place. Not always the way you imagined, but often in the way you needed. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing peace over pressure. It's trusting the current, not fighting it. Try this next time you feel yourself tightening up. Stop, breathe. Ask yourself, is this worth the weight I'm carrying? Then loosen your grip. Allow. Trust. Watch what unfolds. A monk once said, peace isn't found in a place without noise, stress, or hardship. It's found right in the middle of those things when your mind is calm. And that calm doesn't come from control. It comes from trust. What if letting go is how you finally find peace? What if the version of you you're trying to force isn't the one you're meant to become? Surrender might just be the most powerful move you ever made. Remember, if you want to fly, you have to stop clinging to the ground. If you want to move forward, you have to let go of the past. Let go. Let life meet you. And see what rises in its place. Lesson 2. The paradox of detachment. Letting go makes you stronger. The more tightly we pull on the string, the more we lose altitude. The kite doesn't soar because we force it upward. It rises when we give it space to fly. That's the paradox of detachment. The moment you stop needing something, you start attracting it. Letting go isn't losing control, it's gaining it in a deeper, wiser way. It might sound backwards, but it's rooted in timeless truths, especially in Buddhist philosophy. Detachment doesn't mean giving up. It means showing up, fully, consciously, and without fear of what might happen next. Being detached doesn't mean being disconnected. It means you're no longer shackled by the need to control outcomes. You can want something without being defined by it. Because attachment isn't just about desire, it's about needing something to complete you, to validate you. And that's where suffering begins. Detachment then isn't apathy, it's freedom. It's action rooted in clarity, not desperation. Truth, not fear. Think about your own journey. Maybe you've poured everything into a job, a relationship, a dream, and the harder you pushed, the further it seemed to drift. You stayed up late second-guessing yourself. You overanalyzed conversations. You tightened your grip. But instead of peace, you felt pressure. Instead of clarity, confusion. Why? Because your power doesn't come from how tightly you hold on. It comes from how fully present you are. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You shift the question from "will this work?" to "is this true for me?" And that shift changes everything. When you stop operating from fear and start responding from alignment, your entire energy changes. Practice this. Set your intention with clarity, then release the outcome. Speak your truth without trying to control the reaction. Show up to your work, your relationships, your dreams, not with expectation but with sincerity. Then let go. Step back and trust that what's meant for you will unfold on its own time. Meditate on impermanence. Watch how your thoughts and feelings come and go, like waves. Nothing stays forever, not even pain. And that realization, it lightens you. You stop resisting life and start flowing with it. Ask yourself, am I pushing too hard for something that should unfold naturally? Because often what we try to force breaks, and what we allow grows. Surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing that control is an illusion, and presence is real power. Look back. What did clinging ever really give you? Peace or pressure? Clarity or chaos? And what if letting go is the shortcut to everything you've been chasing? A seed doesn't grow because you yell at it to bloom. It grows when you give it room. Detachment doesn't disconnect you. It grounds you in your truth and opens the space for life to rise. So stop gripping, loosen the string, let your kite catch the wind, let go, and let life lift you. Lesson 3. How overthinking pushes away what you want. You might think you're being productive, but really you're just spinning in your head. Overthinking wears the mask of problem solving, but all it really delivers is confusion and exhaustion. It's like stirring muddy water. The more you agitate it, the murkier it becomes. Stillness is what brings clarity, but stillness scares us. In a world obsessed with hustle and noise, silence feels like failure. So we obsess, we replay, we analyze, we imagine every outcome, convinced that one more thought will unlock the answer. But it never does, because overthinking doesn't come from wisdom, it comes from fear. In Buddhism, they call this the monkey mind. Restless, scattered, constantly jumping between thoughts, always reaching, always fearing, always doubting. Your mind thinks it can control life by thinking harder, but true clarity doesn't come from more thoughts. It comes when the noise finally fades. Ever noticed how answers tend to arrive when you're not thinking at all? In the shower, on a walk, in that quiet moment when you've surrendered. That's not a coincidence. That's space. And space makes room for truth. We all crave peace, but we try to think our way into it, and that's the trap. Peace isn't something you chase. It's what's left when you stop chasing. Try this. The next time your thoughts start spiraling, don't dive in deeper. Interrupt the pattern. Close your eyes, take one deep breath. Inhale peace. Exhale the story. Sometimes one breath is more powerful than 100 thoughts. Ask yourself, am I thinking, or am I avoiding? Because overthinking can be a shield, a way to avoid feeling, deciding, or facing the unknown. But life doesn't move when you analyze it. It moves when you do. Set limits for your thoughts. If you're stuck on a decision, give yourself a deadline. Don't let it become paralysis. Clarity loves movement. Even the smallest action can break the loop. And trust your intuition, that quiet inner voice you keep brushing aside. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. You can't hear your inner truth when overthinking is shouting over it. So what if, instead of fixing, you simply started feeling? Let the discomfort be there. Let the fear rise. Don't control it. Just witness it. Let it pass like a wave. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Not out of apathy, but out of awareness, presence. Because when you stop resisting the moment, that moment finally has something to tell you. And in that stillness, guidance speaks. Ask yourself, are my thoughts helping me or holding me hostage? This is your reminder. Your mind is a tool, not your master. And a tool only works when you know when to put it down. So stop stirring the water. Let the pond clear. Let silence rise. You may discover that everything you've been seeking has been waiting patiently beneath the noise all along. Peace isn't something out there. It's what's left when you let go. When caring too much hurts more than it helps. Sometimes we care so deeply, we smother the very thing we're trying to protect. We overperfect our dreams, overload our relationships with expectations, and weigh down our own peace with pressure. It feels noble, this kind of care, but often it's fear dressed in compassion. Fear of losing control. Fear of not being enough. Fear that unless we constantly prove our value, we won't be loved. But like a flame, love and purpose only grow when they have air. Caring deeply isn't the same as clinging desperately. You've probably felt it, the exhaustion of holding everything together for everyone, saying yes when your soul is screaming no, trying to manage everyone's emotions, taking on problems that were never yours to solve. It feels like compassion, but it's actually over-responsibility, and that doesn't lead to connection. It leads to burnout. In Buddhist thought, loving kindness isn't about control, it's about presence. It's about being with someone or yourself without fixing, forcing, or managing. Let life breathe. Let people breathe. Because when you truly care, you create space. And in that space, growth happens. Ask yourself, am I trying to be everything for everyone? You don't need to be the fixer, the pleaser, the perfect one. That's ego masquerading as servant. True compassion begins when you allow others to live their own stories, even when it's messy, even when you would have chosen differently. Let go of needing to be understood. Let go of managing how people see you. When your worth is tied to external validation, even your care becomes conditional, subtle, but heavy. And that's not love. That's fear. Pretending to be love. Reframe care as presence. Sit with someone in silence without solving. Support without fixing. Rest without guilt. Care for yourself, not to become better, but because you already are enough. Release anxious attachment. The checking, the second-guessing, the post-conversation spirals. That's not intuition. It's insecurity. And insecurity left unchecked becomes sabotage. What would change if you stopped trying to manage everything? If you trusted that others could navigate life without your constant intervention? You'd be lighter, you'd be freer, and your relationships would deepen because they'd be built on trust, not tension. You're allowed to care without controlling, to love without losing yourself, to give without grasping. Ask yourself, am I really caring or am I managing people with good intentions? This is your permission slip. Stop trying so hard. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to overgive to be worthy. Let the flame breathe. Let you breathe. Let go, not because you've stopped caring, but because now you understand what real care truly looks like. And when you do, peace, clarity, and connection begin to fall into place. Lesson: when you stop seeking validation, you weren't born to be approved of. You were born to be authentic. But somewhere along the way, applause became oxygen. The likes, the praise, the recognition, they started to feel like proof that you're enough. And little by little, your peace became tied to someone else's opinion. But here's the truth. A mountain doesn't need applause to stand tall. It just stands unshaken, whole, complete. This constant craving for validation, it's invisible but exhausting. You might call it ambition. You might think it's drive. But if your sense of worth collapses when someone disapproves, that's not ambition, that's dependence, and it's dimming your power. Because when you live for applause, you become a performer in your own life, always wondering, was that good enough? Do they like me? But validation is a moving target. It shifts with trends, with moods, with people's projections. And how can you build a solid life on something that's always changing? Buddhism teaches this. Freedom isn't found in being liked. It's found in being real. When you let go of the need for approval, something sacred happens. You hear your own voice again. You stop performing and start living in truth. You act, not for recognition, but because it feels right. You speak, not to be heard, but because it's your truth. That's alignment. That's authenticity. And that's where your power lives. Ask yourself, who am I when no one's watching? If no one clapped, if no one noticed, would you still show up? Would you still speak your truth? Would you still do what you love? You are enough. Without applause, you are valid, even in silence. And that's the shift. When you stop outsourcing your worth, you stop living in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of being invisible. And in that fearless space, creativity flows, courage rises, purpose returns. Try this. Each day, validate yourself, not from ego but from truth. Name 3 things you did well just for you. Maybe you showed up even though it was hard. Maybe you set a boundary. Maybe you rested without guilt. Let those moments be enough. And when someone praises or criticizes you, notice it, but don't cling to it. Don't let it define you. Praise and criticism are like weather. They come, they go, but your essence, your truth, remains unchanged. Step into solitude, not loneliness, solitude, the space where no one else's voice echoes louder than your own. That's where the real you live, the one who doesn't need permission to breathe freely. So ask honestly, am I living for applause or for alignment? Because if you're chasing applause, you'll always feel behind. But if you're living in alignment, even your silence will echo with power. Let go of the need to be seen, and you'll finally see yourself, not as a version shaped by others, but as the mountain you've always been, quietly powerful, completely enough. Lesson 6. The whatever mindset, and how it changes everything. You don't need to control everything to find peace. In fact, the more you try to fix, manage and force life to match your expectations, the more your inner world unravels. But there's a mindset, quiet, powerful, liberating. Those changes everything. The whatever mindset, not from apathy, but from grounded wisdom. Whatever happens, happens. I remain. That's not giving up. That's anchoring yourself in something deeper than outcomes. Because life is unpredictable. Plans fall apart. People change. Dreams evolve. And the mind wants to panic, to scramble for control, to demand certainty, to resist what is. But what if peace wasn't about life going your way, but about staying centered when it does? Like wind swirling around a mountain, the mountain doesn't flinch, it doesn't fight, it just remains. This whatever consciousness isn't indifference, it's spiritual confidence. It's the inner knowing that you can handle life as it comes, not just when it's easy. It's being rooted in your truth, even when the ground beneath you shifts. And from that grounded space, you begin to see clearly. You stop taking everything personally. You stop overreacting. You start choosing peace over pride. Practice radical neutrality. The next time something triggers you, pause. Observe your reaction, don't obey it. Ask, does this need a response, or just my awareness? Whisper to yourself, this doesn't define me, because it doesn't. Your value isn't measured by how smoothly life unfolds. It's revealed in how calmly you stand when it doesn't. Use humor as a spiritual tool. When something goes wrong, smile, shrug, ask, will this matter in 5 years? Probably not. So don't give it 5 hours of your peace. Sometimes peace doesn't come from answers. It comes from letting go of the need for them. Ask yourself, can I remain calm while everything changes? Because if your peace depends on stability, you'll never feel secure. But if your peace is built on presence, surrender and inner steadiness, then no storm can uproot you. The whatever mindset isn't passive, it's powerful. Because when you stop needing life to go a certain way, you finally begin to live in harmony with it. You stop resisting, you start flowing, you become the mountain rooted, steady, So the next time life spins sideways, take a breath and say it softly, whatever happens, happens. I remain. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Letting go isn't losing control, it's letting life meet you where you truly are. And when you do, everything, clarity, strength, alignment, falls into place. Lesson 7. You are not your thoughts. Most people live inside an invisible prison. The walls, their own thoughts. We believe every voice in our head is truth, every worry, every judgment, every fear. But here's what most never realize. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them, the awareness that watches them rise and fall like clouds passing through the sky. And when you stop attaching to every thought, something incredible happens. Freedom. Try this. The next time your mind races, don't fight it. Don't follow it. Just notice. Watch your thoughts. Like weather. Let them come. Let them go. Like a bird observing the clouds. Silently say, this is just thinking. Then return to your breath, to your body, to this moment. You'll begin to see just how much noise the mind makes, trying to feel safe. But awareness doesn't need to feel safe. It simply is quiet, still, whole. Start labeling your patterns. That voice saying, you're behind. That's not wisdom, that's programming. Ask yourself, is this helpful or just habitual? Most thoughts aren't useful, they're recycled. They echo old fears, past wounds, ego stories. They don't deserve your obedience, only your observation. And when you stop trying to manage every moment, something softens. You stop ruling your mind like a dictator. You begin to listen instead of chase. Because clarity isn't something you think your way into. It arises when the mind gets quiet enough to receive it. This is the heart of mindfulness. This is Buddhist wisdom. The Buddha didn't teach us to destroy the mind. He taught us to understand, to observe it like a river, without getting swept away. Every time you pause and say, I am not my thoughts, you take your power back. You return to the stillness beneath the storm. So today, ask yourself, what thoughts have I mistaken for truth? And deeper still, am I the thinker or the awareness behind the thought? You are not the clouds. You are the sky, vast, open, untouched by whatever passes through. And the moment you stop fighting the weather, everything begins to fall into place. Lesson 8. Surrender is a superpower. There comes a moment when your strength is no longer measured by how tightly you hold on, but by how softly you let go. That moment, that's the shift. That's surrender. And it changes everything. Because what if surrender isn't weak? What if it's your greatest superpower? Imagine a boat rowing against a fierce current. No matter how hard it pushes, it stays stuck, or worse, it capsizes. But the moment it stops fighting, the river carries it. That's what surrender does. Surrender isn't giving up, it's giving in to what already is. Most of us live in resistance. We cling to plans, fight reality, wrestle with the unknown, and call it ambition. But often it's just fear. Fear of losing control, fear of looking weak, fear of being still. But here's the truth, control is an illusion, and resistance is exhausting. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop suffering over what's not in your hands. You move from clarity, not chaos. You act with alignment, not anxiety. You flow with life, not against it. Ask yourself, where am I forcing something that no longer flows? A relationship, a role, a dream you've outgrown? Are you rowing in circles, or are you ready to trust the current? Try this. Breathe in, say quietly, I don't know, and let that be okay. Feel the freedom in that. Feel the space it creates. You don't need to have it all figured out to take the next step. You just need to stop gripping so tightly. Think about it. The most powerful moments in your life likely didn't come from a plan. They came from surrender, from stillness, from the moment you whispered, I can't force this anymore. And suddenly the path cleared, the answer appeared, the right person showed up. That wasn't luck, that was alignment. When the mind stops struggling, life begins to speak. In Buddhism, surrender isn't passive, it's active trust. Trust in impermanence, trust in now, trust that life isn't something to conquer, but something to move with. Even the Buddha taught, clinging is the root of suffering, letting go is the doorway to peace. So ask yourself, what am I still fighting that no longer serves me? An identity, an expectation, a version of yourself that you've already outgrown. Maybe, just maybe, surrender is the bridge to your next level. The moment you stop demanding that life be something else, you begin to live in what it already is, and that's where all the magic happens. Let go of the outcome, anchor into the action. Do your part, then release the rest. That's not laziness, that's wisdom, that's the superpower of surrender. Lesson 9. Embrace groundlessness. There's a quiet fear most people never name, the fear of groundless, that in-between space, where the old no longer fits, and the new hasn't arrived, where identities dissolve, plans unravel, and nothing feels solid. And yet, that's exactly where transformation begins. Like a tree surrendering its leaves in autumn, growth asks us to let go before we bloom, but we cling to routines, relationships, roles, not because they're true but because they're familiar. Certainty becomes a comfort zone, but truth lives in uncertainty. So many feel stuck right now, not because they're lost, but because they're still trying to control what cannot be controlled. They're waiting for life to become predictable before they give themselves permission to move. But here's the deeper wisdom. Groundlessness is not the problem, it's the portal. The cocoon never promises a butterfly, it just asks the caterpillar to dissolve. In the same way, your next evolution doesn't need your certainty, it needs your surrender. Can you trust yourself, even when the ground beneath you shifts? Think about your most pivotal moments. Were they planned, or were they born in chaos, in the very moments you thought you were falling apart? Sometimes falling apart is falling into place, but only if you stop sit with the unknown. Let it stretch you, break you open, strip away what was never yours. Don't rush to fill the silence, let it speak. In Buddhist practice, groundlessness is sacred. It's the place where ego dissolves and truth emerges. When you stop needing everything to make sense, you stop negotiating with life, you start meeting it. Try this the next time you feel unstable. Pause, breathe, say quietly, this too is part of the path. I am not lost, I am being remade. Stop asking for the map, become the explorer. Let life shake you, then notice what still stands. Often it's not what you expected, but it's what's real, and what's real will never abandon you. Ask yourself, are you clinging to certainty, or evolving through chaos? Do you trust the unfolding, or are you still rewriting what already is? Growth isn't about holding it all together, it's about falling apart with grace. Let the leaves fall, let the old identity dissolve, let yourself be bare, because only in that raw openness can something new take root. When you stop chasing the ground beneath you, you realize you are the ground, you are the stillness in the storm. So don't fear the unknown, embrace it. That's where your next chapter lives, that's where your freedom begins. Lesson 10. Let the moment lead. Imagine a river. It doesn't question its path, it doesn't fight the bend, it doesn't fear the rocks. It simply flows, responsive, surrendered, present. This is what it means to let the moment lead, not to give up, but to give in to what life is asking of you. When you cling to control, trying to micromanage your career, your healing, your identity, you pull yourself out of the only place where peace and purpose truly exist. This moment, you stop living and start managing. But what if you paused and asked yourself, what is life asking of me right now? What if instead of rushing ahead or retreating in fear, you stayed, you listened, you let the moment be your guide? There is power in interrupting autopilot. The mind loves to relive the past, rehearse the future, but it rarely lives here, where your actual life is happening. So when you find yourself pushing through life as if it's a to-do list to conquer, stop, breathe, ask again, what is life asking of me now? This question changes everything. It shifts you from control to curiosity. It invites new answers, fresh perspectives, paths you never considered, because you were too busy forcing the one you thought you should take. You might be facing delays, disappointments, detours that feel unfair. But what if those moments you're trying to skip hold the very healing you need? What if the waiting isn't wasted time but divine timing? When you surrender to life's rhythm, not your schedule, not your script, you begin to trust a deeper intelligence that lives within every moment. So let the moment lead. Let it whisper what's next. Let it break your plan so it can reveal your path. Because the most beautiful lives aren't built by force. They're revealed by presence. And presence starts now. Lesson: release the need to fix everything. Trying to fix everything at once is like trying to mend the ocean with a spoon. It's noble but impossible, and it's slowly breaking your spirit. We carry this quiet ache, the belief that it's our job to patch every wound, smooth every conflict, hold it all together, for them, for work, for the world, even for ourselves. But here's a truth that might free you. Not everything broken needs your glue. Letting go doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've finally seen the edge between what belongs to you and what doesn't. Ask gently, is this mine to fix or theirs to grow through? This question isn't an escape. It's a boundary, one that allows both you and others the sacred space to grow. Because growth, real growth, is often uncomfortable. It doesn't always look graceful, and it can't be rushed or rescued. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to step back, hold space, offer your presence, instead of your solution. Your silence, your stillness, your refusal to interfere, might be the most powerful support you could ever give. So many of us are exhausted, not because life is too much, but because we're carrying what was never ours to hold. The need to fix can block the very peace you're seeking. What if letting go of that need was the real act of courage? What if the strongest version of you isn't the one holding it all together, but the one who finally releases the weight? There's freedom in surrender. You become a witness, not a rescue, a compassionate presence, not a frantic problem solver. You stop playing life's hero and start trusting that others have their own strength, their own lessons, their own time. And in doing so, you create a quiet space inside, a place where your nervous system can rest, where your breath returns to ease, where you remember you were never meant to fix it all. You were meant to be here, rooted, like a tree in the storm, not because you control the wind, but because you don't resist it. So ask yourself, what peace am I blocking by trying to hold it all together? What if your greatest act of service is your willingness to let go? Because the moment you stop fixing, life begins flowing again, and the spoon can finally rest. Bonus lesson: the art of doing less, being more. Imagine a lotus. It doesn't bloom by force. It blooms by surrendering to the still water beneath it. This is the art of doing less and being more. In a world that celebrates the hustle, the grind, the endless becoming, we forget the quiet brilliance of simply being. You are not here to prove your worth through busyness. You are here to remember that your presence is enough. Doing less isn't about apathy. It's about alignment. When you stop chasing validation, when you stop performing for acceptance, something begins to soften. You create space for the truth of you to rise. Growth doesn't always come from pushing harder. Often it begins in stillness, in the sacred pause, in the gentle awareness that life is not something to be forced, but something to be received. Try this each day, even for a few minutes. Be still, without a task, without a goal. Let the sediment of your mind settle. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften. Feel the power in simply existing. Feel how much beauty arises when you stop trying to control it all. You don't have to do more to be more. You already are. The quiet power of surrender. Epilogue. This is not laziness. This is not avoidance. This is the sacred art of returning to yourself. When you stop doing, you start being. And from that still place, right action rises, effortless, clear, unforced. Ask yourself, what if I stopped striving and simply trusted my essence? What if the endless chase to prove my worth, my value, my identity, is a story I no longer need to believe? In silence, you don't have to fix. You don't have to perform. You don't have to carry the world. The quiet confirms what the noise could never say. You are already enough. Who are you when nothing needs to be done? That question is a door to freedom. Because when you're not driven by performance, productivity, or pressure, you discover a deeper peace, one that doesn't fluctuate with outcomes or disappear in chaos. A peace that was always there, waiting in the stillness beneath your stripe. And from that stillness, life begins to move. Ideas arise. Solutions unfold. Doors open. Not because you pushed, but because you allowed space. The art of doing less isn't a retreat from life. It's a deeper engagement with it. It's a radical trust in your own unfolding, a refusal to rush, a devotion to presence. It's the calm eye of the storm, unmoved, yet powerfully creating from the center. Ask yourself, what am I still trying to prove? That silence would already confirm. What weight could I set down if I trusted that my essence is enough? When you let go of the need to do more, you begin to be more. And from that place, everything falls into place, not by force, but by presence. You bloom like the lotus, not by striving, but by surrendering to the stillness beneath you. The final truths: control is an illusion. Peace comes not from resistance, but from release. Detachment is not disconnection. It's freedom from the desperation that clouds your vision. It invites what control pushes away. Overthinking repels clarity. The answers don't come from spiraling thought. They rise in stillness. Caring too much can cost you. When it's rooted in fear, you lose yourself. But love that allows freedom creates space for real connection. Validation is an inside job. When you stop seeking approval, you start living your truth. Whatever happens is not apathy, it's spiritual strength, a grounded calm that helps you weather anything. You are not your thoughts. Most are echoes of old fears. You are the presence that watches the storm and stays unshaken. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. It is the superpower that ends your suffering and opens the flow of life. Groundlessness is sacred. The unknown is not the enemy. It is where your soul learns to fly. Let the moment lead. When you stop scripting every step, life surprises you with grace. Stop fixing, start feeling. Presence is more healing than 1,000 solutions. So rest now. Breathe. Be still. There is nothing left to chase. Nothing left to prove. What you've been searching for in effort, in noise, in control has been quietly waiting in the space where you finally let go. You are the calm. You are the ground. You are already whole, and now everything falls into place. The art of doing less, being more, voiceover-ready refinement. Stillness transforms more than endless motion ever could. When you release the need to constantly do, your deeper self has space to finally be. Being fully present is not a pause in your life. It's the path to your life. Fulfillment doesn't come from productivity. It comes from alignment. From knowing who you are and allowing that to guide every step. You don't gain control by gripping tighter. You gain it by releasing the illusions that were never yours to carry. Life is not something to be forced, chased, or fixed. It's something to be experienced with presence, courage, and trust. The moment you stop clinging is the moment you start living. True strength is not in domination, it's in surrender, not the surrender of weakness, but the sacred surrender of ego, fear, and control. When you detach from what you cannot control, you begin to shape your inner world with precision and peace. And then the outer world starts to follow. Let go of the need to be like, to be perfect, to always be right. Instead, be grounded in your truth, your stillness, your deep knowing. From that space, right action arises, effortlessly. You don't chase alignment. You become aligned. And from there, real success begins. Zen teaches us that bamboo bends in the wind, not because it is weak, but because it is wise. Be like the bamboo, bend, flow, let go and rise. You were never meant to control the storm. You were meant to find your calm within. If this message resonated with you, please like and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Drop a comment below. We read and feel every word you. And don't forget to subscribe to Insightful Journey for more inspiring insights rooted in Buddhist teachings on how to live a peaceful, grounded, and powerful